DEA is responsible for the enforcement of the Controlled Substances Act. Drug law enforcement has a long and distinguished record here in the United States, beginning back in 1915 with the passage of the Harrison Act. And drug law enforcement has undergone some changes, but the mission is one that anyone associated with drug law enforcement can be very proud of.
Champagne Flight 19. Non-stop service now ready for boarding. Gate 22.
They are moved by planes and boats and cars. Political borders have no meaning for them. They're sold on the streets of cities and on those of the suburbs. They found their way into schools, offices, and the arenas where sports are played. They come in remarkable variety and are consumed by people of all races, economic classes, educational backgrounds, and virtually all ages. They are illicit drugs, a business whose size and dollar value can only be estimated, a business that has become deeply ingrained in our time, place, and society, a business the federal government has been fighting for over 60 years. Today, the lead agency in that fight, the one responsible for the development of overall federal drug enforcement strategy, programs, planning, and evaluation, is the Drug Enforcement Administration. The headquarters of the Drug Enforcement Administration in downtown Washington, D.C. From this building, an agency made up of 19 field divisions, 5 district offices, 96 resident offices, and offices in over 60 cities in over 40 countries is run. Organized and equipped to battle sophisticated illegal drug trafficking on a variety of fronts, DEA is the final product of a long evolutionary process of federal drug enforcement, a process that began in 1915. 1915. Step back in time to the United States in that year. World War I was being fought in Europe, but that was a distant conflict to most Americans. Here, life was still slow, even though cars were on the highways, planes were in the sky, and cities were growing fast. For the first time, the federal government became involved in drug enforcement work through the Miscellaneous Division of the Internal Revenue Service. 162 agents served in that division, whose regulatory responsibility included control over oleomargarine, adulterated butter, filled cheese, mixed flour, cotton futures, playing cards, and narcotics.
10-4, I got the target in sight.
The Roaring '20s were a time for new heroes, new dances, new music. There were enormous changes in how people lived and thought. It was an era of optimism and fun. Through most of that decade, from 1920 to 1927, federal drug enforcement activities were carried out by the Narcotics Division of IRS's Prohibition Unit. In 1920, it had 170 agents and a budget of $500,000. In 1927, the Narcotics Division was placed under the Bureau of Prohibition. It stayed there for 3 years. By 1930, the full force of the Great Depression was felt. The country's spirit and economy, so vibrant during the 20s, were shattered. Even in these, the worst of times, federal drug enforcement remained a necessity. For the next 38 years, until 1968, it would be the charge of the Department of the Treasury's Bureau of Narcotics. The late 1960s were a turbulent and bitter time in the United States, a period of stress and rapid change. In 1966, the Bureau of Drug Abuse Control, Food and Drug Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare was formed. It lasted until 1968, when the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs was established. It functioned for 5 years. In 1973, President Richard Nixon stated that his administration had declared an all-out war on the drug menace. He urged consolidating all federal anti-drug forces under a unified command to more efficiently carry out that war. Those forces were consolidated, and from that consolidation emerged DEA.
The mission of DEA in relation to state and local law enforcement entities is to work with them in coordinating investigations to ensure that not only the highest level of the trafficker in the country, but also those levels of traffickers which impact upon state and local authorities are involved in a coordinated effort. The mission of DEA is international. Not only are we responsible for drug law enforcement as the lead drug enforcement agency nationally, but we are also international in scope. We have offices in 63 cities, in 43 foreign countries, and have liaison with many other countries in which we do not have a DEA presence.
Today's headlines make clear that the war on drugs that President Nixon declared in 1973 is still being waged, that the agency created then is at the cutting edge of that conflict, and that its special agents, over 2,200 of them, are on the front lines.
When you become a DEA agent, in every sense of the word, it's what I am, not what I do. It's not a job. I interview people for the job and I explain to them. We get paid a pittance for 10, 15, or 20 hours a week overtime, but what you're going to do in your 20-year career is you're going to put 40 years in, maybe 50. The odds are you're going to lose your wife. We have an 85 or an 88% divorce rate. We last 5 years after retirement. The average guy doesn't live but 5 years after retirement. That's all a sign of what you are sacrificing to become a DEA agent. And we all do it, and we all love it. The majority of my career I spent doing undercover work. I'm particularly enamored with undercover work because it combines an odd element of a combination of skills. It appeals to my sense of challenge. And working undercover, I've run into some hellacious situations. One they happened to capture on film, which illustrates a whole combination of things that I teach in the undercover scenario. It's the teamwork. I believe my life was saved by the teamwork involved. The surveillance team picking up on film a group of guys that I was going to do a drug deal with, picking them up a half hour before the meet while they were setting me up to rip me off and kill me. And because Mike Levine lives, there are thousands of people who have lost thousands and thousands of man-years of their life in jail, and I believe thousands live because of what I did.
150 rolling down the strip. 150 rolling down the strip. DEA is gonna take a little trip. DEA is gonna take a little trip.
It's our goal to prepare the best agent we can to put on the street, both in terms of his knowledge of the job, his physical fitness to carry out his duties, and to have the proper mental conditioning and mindset to do this job. But most importantly, what we want to do is to prepare the agent so that he can do his job in the most beneficial manner to the public and also to safety for himself. It's very important today with the more complex investigations, with the violence in the drug community, that our agents are prepared and are thinking safety.
Yes, as a basic agent trainee, we go through a 13-week school, which comprises academic courses such as law, search and seizure, undercover operations, and also drug identification. We also have a physical training program, which not only do we do calisthenics, but we also go into defensive tactics.
When I reflect back upon my basic agent training, I realize just how vital training is to actually carrying out my job from day to day, specifically undercover tactics, surveillance tactics, arrest tactics, and actually all the training that I received assisted me in actually developing how to develop a case, how to plan things, and how to carry them out. And also, when investigating a particular person or target, it enables you to actually formulate a total picture on how someone actually operates, how you can go about establishing a case, developing a case, and actually bringing it to its fruition, arresting the person and conviction.
El Paso Intelligence Center. Your name?
Okay, the control name?
El Paso Intelligence Center.
This facility, the El Paso Intelligence Center, is an intelligence clearinghouse for drug enforcement information, the kind of information that is vital in any war. EPIC provides a unique form of continuous intelligence support for federal, state, and local investigations. An interagency effort led by DEA. This remarkable operation, state-of-the-art intelligence gathering and dissemination, is indicative of DEA's emphasis on timely, accurate data in support of its special agents.
One of the real advantages to the investigator in using EPIC is that while he may have access to the databases of his agency and can make that check, if he were to contact EPIC and make an inquiry here as he's developing his case, it would be like a one-stop shopping center. He would be able to do a multi-database check all at one time.
One particular case which comes to mind was the seizure of 1,900 pounds of cocaine from a small yacht that was put on lookout by my office. The information was received by the Barranquilla resident office and passed to the El Paso Intelligence Center, who in turn passed it to the U.S. Coast Guard as a lookout. About 1 week following the initial issuance of the lookout, the U.S. Coast Guard located the vessel, boarded it, but were unable to locate the cocaine. Later, the Coast Guard called EPIC, who in turn called me to verify through our source that in fact the cocaine was on board. I did so, returned a call to the El Paso Intelligence Center, who in turn recontacted the Coast Guard, who in turn reboarded the vessel, decided that that they would seize the vessel and take it to the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base, where they would conduct a further search, a more thorough search. In Guantanamo Bay, they searched the vessel and discovered the 1,900 pounds of cocaine and arrested the 3 people on board, one of which was a DEA fugitive.
Not all drugs are illegal. In fact, many controlled substances are legal. Their manufacturers, distributors, and dispensers, however, are required by the 1970 Controlled Substances Act to register with DEA, an essential factor in stopping the diversion of such substances into illegal markets.
The role of the diversion investigator with the Drug Enforcement Administration is to monitor and register the legitimate authorized handlers of controlled substances. There are approximately 300 investigators nationwide in the division and headquarters offices monitoring the activities of approximately 700,000 registrants. Those registrants include manufacturers, distributors, methadone treatment programs, doctors, and pharmacies primarily. The job of the diversion investigator on a cyclic or routine basis must investigate the activities of certain manufacturers and distributors at least once every 3 years at the request of state agencies or on a as-needed basis. Doctors and pharmacies would also be visited to determine that they are in compliance with licensing requirements and that they are not diverting the substances.
DEA's Special Testing and Research Laboratory is just that, special. Its wide-ranging activities run the gamut from providing evidence analysis and scientific support for overseas regions to performing examinations of tablets and capsules as an aid in identifying the manufacturing sources of drugs. Beyond that, it helps a variety of law enforcement agencies, both foreign and domestic, with scientific and technical support. And the research and development done here are the basis of techniques that will be at the heart of this fight against drugs in the future.
What we do here, as the name implies, special testing, where we get a lot of exhibits in from overseas, which undergo relatively in-depth chemical analysis that is relative to what the other DEA's laboratories will do, in part in support of foreign agents and also to help us to validate signatures. The second major area, again, as the name implies, is research. Much of it is geared towards source determination of drugs such as cocaine and heroin. We also do a great deal of training.
In addition to the Special Testing and Research Laboratory, there are 7 DEA forensic science laboratories located in New York, Miami, Chicago, Dallas, San Diego, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. These facilities, like virtually everything else associated with DEA, are designed to support investigative work. In this case, the work of DEA and the FBI.
My work as a forensic chemist is to receive, analyze, and report my findings on items of suspected drug evidence. But naturally, there's a whole lot more to the work than that. The primary thing, of course, is to work the cases. We get evidence coming in, we have to process it, analyze it, and then, of course, do the paperwork that goes to it. But there are a lot of other duties that are probably almost as important to the agency that people don't tend to think about. Going to court and testifying is a major aspect of the work because, after all, if the case goes to trial and you can't get the evidence in and can't get the report in, then the agent's work is in vain. Another major thing that we do is quite a bit of training activity. There's a lot of work that is done to, for instance, train new agents who are starting. We, in this laboratory, provide some of the personnel who go and teach things forensic having to do with the laboratory to the new agents starting off in Quantico. Then we do a lot of what you might call public relations training, where we help various local police departments. And we'll go out and do classes in field testing and clandestine laboratory safety and things of that sort. And then finally, one of the major things, which for me and some of the other chemists too, is the most fun, are going on clandestine lab raids, where we actually get a chance to get out in the field and see what's happening immediately on a situation and get in on it, not from the beginning, but from the middle rather than at the tail end, as so often happens in the laboratory, when all we do is just get the evidence in a cold piece of paper and have no idea of what happened earlier.
DEA's primary mission is enforcement, pure and simple. And it's an agency that literally has its own Air Force of over 50 planes to help it carry that mission out. It's an agency that recognizes the international nature of drug trafficking it combats, so it operates internationally. It's an agency charged with bringing to the criminal and civil justice system of the United States, or any other competent jurisdiction, organizations and their members involved in the growing, manufacture, or distribution of controlled substances appearing in or destined for illicit traffic in the United States. In short, DEA seeks to arrest as many major drug traffickers as it can. To do that, to do it successfully, requires a coordinated team effort, one in which operations receives the ongoing help of a strongly motivated and effective support staff. DEA has such a support staff. Because it does, its complex and difficult mission is efficiently accomplished, and that mission can take more than one form.
Welcome to Team Up, NAB's special one-hour satellite feed supporting sports drug awareness in your market. Hi, this is Rick Dees, and now, here's your host, George Michael.
You know, with the death of Len Bias,
A gentler side of DEA's responsibilities is made up of a combination of ambitious and hopeful programs designed to reduce the demand for illegal drugs by encouraging people in as many ways as possible to say no to those illegal drugs when they're offered.
We want you to say no, and we want you to know why that's the right decision.
The predominant program with which we are involved is the program involving the high school coaches of the United States. This is our sports drug awareness program. We have coordinated our educational efforts with the High School Coaches Association, where we work with some 48,000 high school coaches who directly impact upon 5.5 million youngsters. In addition, we bring in professional athletes to work with us so that they, as role models, can work with youth in order to get the anti-drug message across.
The world of illicit drugs is a cruel, harsh, and dangerous one. It is also lucrative, almost beyond imagination. Because it is, those in it are willing to fight, virtually to the death, to maintain it. But because it's so destructive in every way, the fight to eliminate it must be just as hard, just as implacable. Over the years, the federal government has sought to do just that with a variety of agencies. Since 1973, leadership in this vital struggle has been the responsibility of the Drug Enforcement Administration. The price of that leadership has been very high for some of those who have stepped forward to shoulder it. But DEA and its special agents, backed by dedicated professional technical and support personnel, has always understood why that price, however tragic, must be paid. Throughout this organization, there is a commitment to battle illegal drug trafficking across the United States and around the world. This battle is fought with zeal, bravery, and imagination. It will continue to be fought that way for as long as it takes to rid our society of those drugs and of those who deal in them.